Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. And also, if you have a tale to tell, feel free to contact me at dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. I have a return guest. Really happy to have Kai Tristan Rivera back on. He was last on season 5, episode 131. And now he's gotten a lot older. Now he's 22, and his story is so real. His brothers are still suffering at the hands of an abuser, and Kai refuses to stay silent while the courts enable this abuser. They're all abusers thinking it's okay to destroy families while they get to go home to theirs. Kai's perspective is that children and the youth, much like himself, can't trust adults. And look how damaging and conniving a lot of these adults are. And I welcome you, Kai. How can you explain how conniving these adults can be?
Thank you, Marianne, for having me on your show today.
I'm glad to have you on.
It's been what, about a year, right?
Yep.
All right. In terms of these conniving adults, it's it's remarkable how many there are, along with how skilled their their conniving trait has become. I guess starting off with my stepfather, which not only sexually abused me, but my younger brothers, Zane and Evan, along with mental abuse of my mother.
Mhm.
Um, think he's probably the most talented one, but having stepped foot in a courtroom for the first time and essentially getting to meet his lawyer, which it doesn't seem to be as talented as Jeff, but it's quite, as I said already, remarkable how many conniving people not only are in this world, but happen to be in the court system, a lot, especially family court.
Right. The last time we talked, your mother had to go into court, and that's when you met the opposing attorney. Now, did
Hmm.
you find him to be a perpetual liar?
Uh, so from my best knowledge, my grandparents were, as a matter of fact, they were trying to intervene for custody of my brother Zane over in May of
Mhm.
this year. And that was the closest I had initially gotten to, who do we say, Gary, right? The lawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the first time I initially got close in regards to him being a perpetual lawyer, I mean, perpetual liar. And my grandparents definitely expressed a lot of collusion going on, not only between um, Jeff and the court officer, I believe is would be the right term here, but nonetheless, also between the lawyer as well. And essentially, the lawyer, Gary, had stated multiple lies, and they were deemed to be accepted in that hearing room.
Have you had a chance to talk to your brothers at all?
I have not, no. It's been 2 years and counting so far, which is, here's that word again, remarkable. It's not only this whole situation is hitting a lot of new heights here. Not seeing my brothers, not hearing from my brothers, not being allowed to communicate to my brothers, along with Zane having a completely different biological father, and he is still being uh, forced to live with a man who does not share the same DNA as him, let alone the best interests for him. Um, a lot of new, I'd say, remarkable, yet traumatic experiences here, along with my mother. not being allowed to see the children. My mother also essentially getting threatened with jail time. My mother also having struggled with her own mental health because, I mean, me as well, we're not able to see my brothers, in other
Mm,
words, her children. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm
mm.
sure you or anybody else can imagine. Wouldn't that be painful? Wouldn't that
Oh,
be
it's
so
horrible.
stressful if
It's
you have your
horrible.
children removed?
Hmm.
So, well, a lot of new experiences with this whole divorce that my stepfather can't seem to handle.
And it seems like they don't know when to quit. I have found with the family court system, how often have you been going back and forth with them?
As a matter of fact, I'm just now stepping into this family court with my own 2 feet.
Mm.
And because prior to this month, it was really just my own 2 ears. Um, but nonetheless, it's still, sorry, I forgot your question already, but you mind
Oh,
repeating it?
oh, I was saying, have you gone, how many times have you been going into family court?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I already answered the question. I don't know how I forgot so fast, but yeah, I just stepped in this month officially. And earlier this month, I think June 11th, intervening for custody for my brothers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So did you get to speak in court or did they just not listen to you?
So as a matter of fact, I went in with, well, on my drive there, I couldn't help but think how my grandparents had a terrible experience, along with getting denied, um, getting denied to intervene for custody for their own blood, which is ridiculous how that can
Hmm.
happen. Uh, but essentially, on my drive to Pennsylvania for my court hearing, I couldn't help but be concerned because not only did my grandparents have a terrible experience, but my mom has been having the worst experience out of my. As a matter of fact, it's not many of us doing. I don't know where I was going with that. I apologize, but regardless, my mom has been having a terrible experience. I couldn't help but be very concerned for my own self, wondering like, will these guys respect me in the courtroom? Will I have a chance to speak in the courtroom? Will I be heard?
Hmm.
Will Will they sit there and laugh? Will I get threatened with um, ridiculous punishment for not only seeking justice, but also just trying to get my brothers in a healthier spot? Um, but simultaneously, I remembered that no matter how difficult this time and separation has been for my brothers, I believe that they're still hoping not only for my mom but for me to come through and essentially reunite them with their family and also rescue them from
Hmm.
that sexual abusive gaslighting manipulator. Uh, so my mindset going into court was uh, I'm I'm gonna do what I can and I'm not gonna tolerate any BS going in there. And I mean, I've gotten used to I've gotten used to the pain and the trauma and the discomfort from my stepfather, especially given that I had to live with him for damn near 6 years. So,
Hmm.
um, while we were waiting to enter the courtroom, as a matter of fact, I took a seat right next to Jeff.
Hmm.
And I found it really funny, as a matter of fact, because I walked in there, I said hi to Jeff because I'm not here to play no games. I'm on a mission to get my brothers back. So I wanted to take a seat right next to him.
Hmm.
And funny enough, I mean, I already think very low, Jeff. Nonetheless, with all disrespect towards him, I couldn't help but find it quite funny that he's overweight again. This guy really doesn't know how to manage his health whatsoever, and it's a little amusing to me. But
Well, that could be a good thing.
nonetheless, we got into the courtroom, and Miss Amy Miller, from which I had low expectations for, given my grandparents' experience in the courtroom, she was very respectful and kind to me, and I do have to give credit to her for exceeding my expectations because given that my grandparents are senior citizens and I understand that I do have very passionate grandparents, but um, my grandparents also felt disrespected entirely by Amy Miller having laughed at not only my grandmother but my grandfather. But as I said already, she exceeded my expectations by treating me not only with respect but also doing her best to help me answer specific questions and also make my point or various points in that hearing room. Um,
Is she the judge?
she's not a judge. She's, correct me if I'm wrong, a hearing officer.
Hearing
Uh,
officer? Like a
is that a correct
magistrate?
term? I wouldn't know if that's a yes or no to that. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, so she's probably a hearing officer.
I believe so. I think I wrote it down here somewhere, but that's to the best of my knowledge, a hearing officer.
Because your mom didn't have an attorney and it sounds like you don't have one either.
Yeah, that's correct. Just as same as my mother, we're both unrepresented. Well, we're representing ourselves.
Right. And I've been following you on social media, and some of your posts are really, really, really good. And you recently shared one with everyone where you went to court and, tried to get custody. And, are you putting on social media what happened, the aftermath of that?
I put on, I addressed a little bit of what had took place in the courtroom. Um, for instance, I have plenty of posts on social media itself, and specifically what took place in the courtroom was uh, Gary, the lawyer, had thought it'd be a good idea to take. I don't even know if the man knows how to take a screenshot, but nonetheless, he went ahead and printed out various posts of mine. And I don't know how old he is. I guess his form of swiping is to staple a few Instagram posts and flip through the pages instead of scrolling through the page. So he decided to show me the post and then submit it in for exhibition. um, yeah, that's what took place in regards to social media. Well, sorry. Uh, In regards to my social media, that's what was relevant in the courtroom. He started to address a few captions I put on there. Um, I wish I could quote his questions, but they weren't very strong questions, to say the
Right.
least.
Well, when you're showing your truth on social media, I mean, my opposing attorney did the same thing. He had all these screenshots from my Instagram, and he didn't know how to even ask a question to that either.
Yeah, I don't know. It was having sit in the courtroom for the first time. I do understand that it's kind of like a game that we have to play with these corrupt fools, and he made a bad move by asking weak questions based off my Instagram account. As a matter of fact, he even showed me a pic. What's ironic, and I would love to tease him here because apparently he listened to our podcast last year. Apparently he did. He said so in
Wow.
the forum. But nonetheless, he showed me a post that I made, and he said something very close to, "You even posted this picture here of me." And then I looked at the picture and I looked at Gary himself. I'm like, oh, whoa, that's the same guy. I didn't realize. Gary looks completely different. I feel bad for him,
Mhm.
just like Jeff. They both don't know how to manage their health, and they've got very bad. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say very bad. I would rather say they have their priorities mixed up because Jeff would rather sexually molest three kids instead of being a good father or let alone being a good role model. And
Mhm.
Gary would rather support a pedophile than, I don't know, at the gym or something, which is ridiculous.
Right. Well, the lawyer wants the money, so he must be paying him something to represent him and acquiesce to this crime.
Cute. I mean, these guys would rather do the, the I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for words because it is ironic that they would rather be involved with this sort of situation, which is separating and dismantling and destroying a family than, being, I don't even know,
It,
productive, let alone being healthy. So I don't know. Like I said, lost for words for that.
definitely, I get it. And, what kind of questions did the attorney ask that you wouldn't answer yes or no to? Do you remember?
I do recall stating something about how I can recite multiple different instances in which Jeff Reichel had sexually assaulted me.
Mhm.
I said that into the microphone. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe I was being cross-examined in that moment. And I do recall uh the guy with the glasses. What's his name? Gary. Sorry. I do remember him saying something about how children and youth services investigated and those or sorry, not those, but their investigation was finalized as unfounded or whatnot. And he repeated his question. Well, not necessarily his question, but he repeated they were deemed unfounded, yes or no. And I do recall repeating, saying, I can tell you my experiences right now. It doesn't matter what children and youth found or did not find.
Mhm.
They they didn't search my brain. I don't even remember them calling me in for an interview. I don't
Right.
remember them. I don't remember them also having interviewed my brothers with Jeff Reichel in a different location. I remember my brothers, of course, I wasn't present, but my mom was. I do recall Jeff Reichel being right next to the children.
As they were being interviewed by an inept caseworker. Yeah.
Yeah,
A lot of them do that. I don't know why. It's always a one-sided interview, and they didn't even interview you.
yeah.
Now, was this attorney focused on any screenshot in particular? Was there one that he was looking at?
I do recall one one screenshot he tried to play me with, and before I get to that, he also kept trying to hit on the same question, like, are my actions best for the health and safety of my brothers? Kept trying to play me with that specific question. Like, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, with the social media post, with what I'm saying on the social media post, with what I had said in our interview a year ago. And then he will probably try to leverage what I say in this podcast here by is the what you said in this podcast with Maryann on June, I forgot today's date, but was that do you think that was best for the health and safety and security of your younger brother? And as a matter of fact, I'm gonna answer that question real quick. Thank you, Gary, for asking. Yes, it is. Because
Mhm.
wouldn't you or wouldn't your wife want to know if your children are going to the same school and they're under the supervision, other words, your guidance counselor for your children is molesting his own, is sexually assaulting his own, is manipulating and gaslighting his wife at home? Wouldn't you want to know? Obviously, you don't want to know everything in life, but you want to know that your kids are under the supervision of a trustworthy, honest, and respectable man at the bare minimum. You wouldn't want your children anywhere near somebody that touches kids in the middle of the night, that goes ahead and puts his hands in children's pants in the middle of the night,
Mhm.
let alone uh, tries to, make for you for instance, try to make you feel dumb for even questioning that idea. Like you wouldn't want that. But back to the social media post that he was trying to leverage or specifically try to play me with was a post about Miss Amy Miller and try to say, sorry, I don't remember I can't, sorry, specifically, I cannot recite the entire quote because it is a long, long statement
Mhm.
or a long message. Nonetheless, I phrased it with a question mark. And then he tried to say my question. It was something about is Miss Amy Miller a child abuser too? Question mark. It was something like that. But then
Ah,
in the courtroom, he tried to change it to a statement he tried to phrase it as a statement instead of a question. It was a cute try, but nonetheless, not only a weak move, weak questions. I really can't believe, like, I'm actually pretty happy I'm not paying for a lawyer because
oh yeah.
I would be sick if I was child molesting pedophile Jeff Reichel paying a lot of money for a lawyer to ask weak questions, let alone printing out Instagram posts. I would be pretty dissatisfied for paying such a high fee for low quality service in my respectful opinion.
A lot of parents are paying this price for nothing.
Yeah,
Now,
my mom did too.
yeah, and this attorney was bringing up alienation, or did he show you an Instagram post on that too?
Wouldn't be surprised if we did. I don't remember all the posts, but I do remember him flipping through at least three,
Mhm.
probably four. There could have been more, to be honest. I was really I from time to time I do get that secondhand embarrassment, like there's somebody embarrasses themselves. And I can't stop saying this, but weak question, weak move by Gary. And I even had asked Amy Miller, like, can we please move on? This is ridiculous.
Mhm.
Why are we going through my Instagram posts here? Um, and in regards to alienation, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a post in which he was flipping through in front of me that had stated anything in regards to alienation. But I don't remember me specifically stating, let alone using the word alienation, nor do I remember if that word was used by anyone else in the courtroom that day.
Right, right. They all pull the same thing. It is to distract the hearing officer or the judge. They all pull this on everybody, even me. And so, like, he question the abuser at all?
For one, I did not cross-examine.
Mhm.
I thought about cross-examining, but I didn't try.
Mhm.
Two, Reichel didn't utter a word, not a single thing. So,
Mhm.
and nor was he questioned As a matter of fact, I only remember prior to the I don't know the term here, but I guess before we started, Michael and his lawyer were sitting there writing on their notepad and smiling like little kids in class.
Ugh. Yeah.
And that's as a matter of fact, that's his type of style. That's his type of style. He loves doing little, little cute stuff like that. That's his type of thing.
Hmm. Immature.
Yeah. Uh,
This is
loves doing
terrible.
cute little stuff like that.
Yeah. In, and now these attorneys, they're just, lying and keeping the kids away from you and your mother and grandparents. I don't know why, this is going on for so long.
I don't understand either. But from from the stance of now understanding that this is really a game, I do have to give credit. Like this is pretty impressive how somebody who has no good intentions is doing very well at this game.
Hmm.
I do have to give credit there. With all due respect, Jeff Reichel and Gary, you guys are doing great in terms of separating my brothers from not only their brother, their oldest brother, and their mother, but absolutely remarkable job at keeping them away for 2 years from their entire family. It's there's no other compliment there. It's how can you do that? How can you how can you put together a plan? Well, how can you first come to the idea that your goal is to remove them out of their family's life?
Hmm.
Number one. And then number two, follow that up with a plan. And then follow number three, follow through on that plan and execute it efficiently for 2 consecutive years and counting.
And that's a crime as well. Child psychological abuse is a crime. It's in the DSM-5 V995.51. And they are aiding and abetting this crime of child psychological abuse, along with the other abuses that are going on.
And to hit on the execution of this plan, I don't understand how there's nobody, not even Amy Miller, and hear me on this. Not even Amy Miller is going to sit there. I couldn't imagine anybody else, but nonetheless, if Amy Miller is not going to sit there and ask me or Reichel, why is it that they're not allowed to see their family, then what is the court system really in place for?
Yeah.
And if the court can't ask logical, critical questions like that, why is these two little boys being removed from 50%? 50%. So let me get a little bit more specific here. So Evan is Jeff Reichel's DNA,
Mhm.
100% biological father right there. In terms of Zane, Zane is 100% not Jeff Reichel's
Mhm.
biological child. I don't understand how Zane can be removed from 100% of his own family.
Mhm. Mhm.
Zane is not anywhere even close to the same DNA. He's not from Jeff. He's not from the Reichel family. I don't understand how Evan, which is removed from half of his family, and along with Zane, who's removed from his entire family. I don't understand how this can be done and not Amy Miller question it, not the judge. Nobody else is asking that question. I don't understand why. That's simple. I just don't understand why. How can that happen?
I don't understand it either, but I've heard other cases where these judges allow that to happen to people. It's really messed up.
Yeah. And it's not accidental either. It's all intentional. It's stuff like
Mhm.
this doesn't happen on accident. People like judges, they go to school for a long time. They know exactly what they're doing. They're trained to learn exactly what they're doing. They
Mhm.
know exactly what they're doing. This
Oh,
is
they
not
do.
on accident. Along with critical questions. They're intentionally not asking these, they're intentionally not asking, they're intentionally not diving deep on these things.
Mhm.
That's alarming.
I think they don't want to be bothered, or they just want to get, the case through and out of there and then move on to the next case. But didn't this judge Sibum, she played a role in what was happening to your family. And she too has some collusion going on with the opposing attorney too. I think that's what we talked about last time you were on.
Yeah, I believe we did touch on this last year. Um, in regards to, and I really cannot pronounce this judge's name consistently. It's always one or the other. Nonetheless, I'm gonna just start off and then we'll see how many different pronunciations I give going forward. Judge Saibam, last year, in the summertime, my mother had a court date with Judge Saibam, and I, I don't understand how, but nonetheless, the judge was whom which has the power to help two children here.
Mm-hmm.
Focus is not on that. Focus is on putting my mom in jail. I don't know how. I don't understand how. Nonetheless, uh, my mom told me like she was scared for her life, and
Mm-hmm.
if she didn't have her pastor Elaine, I don't hear this last name very often because I think it's pretty uncommon, but uh, it's also my mother's mom, my grandmother's last name as well, Elaine Maldonado, which was my mother's pastor, was there as a witness, for my mom and
Mm-hmm.
support for my mom because my mom needs support. I was I would have loved to have been there, but I'm trying to do what I can here to support my mom financially from Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my mom said like if Elaine wasn't there, like my mom really believes that Cybum would have essentially illegally put my mom in jail with no solid grounds. Um, I just sorry, but it really doesn't make any sense
Uh-uh.
because got two kids right there. Not they weren't physically present. I'm sure they weren't present, but nonetheless, like they're only in the courtroom for two children, really. It's
Right.
probably for custody. I don't remember what it was for, if it was custody or for divorce, but nonetheless, like two kids need support. They need to be reunited with their family, but nonetheless, I mean, not nonetheless, but she disregards that and tries to toss my mom for no valid reason. And then from a very simple critical mindset, why would a judge do that? Well, there's got to be some sort of connection there. There's got to be some sort of collusion going on behind the scenes
Mm-hmm.
because no way you as a judge are going to you're going to show up to work and instead of doing good for not only society, but let alone for a family, you're going to go ahead and intentionally focus on something that's not going to help anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I could not imagine doing that to not even my worst enemy. It doesn't make any sense. How are you going to go to school for however many years you did? How are you going to not only probably get married, but probably raise a few kids, and then think it's cool to go to work one day and try to throw somebody in jail for no valid reason? Someone who's got a family,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who also wants to protect her own children. How are you going to go ahead and do that? And when somebody makes a police report against a stepfather, you're not going to bat an eye at that. You're not going to listen to not only that. that kid that filed a police report, but you're also not gonna even think about or even attempt to listen to the little kids.
Mm.
I don't understand how these guys could in, mind you, these guys aren't homeless. Like they're in
Right.
control of their life. They're in control of their decisions. That's how they are.
Hmm.
That's how they are judges because they've taken control of their life. They focus. They got through school. They took head on through tons of challenges. They pushed through. They became a judge. So what I'm trying to say is stuff like this doesn't happen on accident. It's
Hmm.
intentional.
Yeah, it's all in who they know. And they're doing favors for their friends, friends, friends at the expense of families and your little brothers.
Well, I guess if it's not your own family, then it's a very low price to pay, right?
Right. And they sleep very well at night. I'm sure Sebum, or however you pronounce that last name, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure she hasn't spoken to my little brothers not once. I'm sure she
Right.
hasn't asked.
Or even you. She hasn't even talked to you at all.
Never met her. Never got an email. Never got a letter. Never got a I don't
Uh,
know a follow on Facebook, Instagram. You know,
uh, yeah. And now, have you approached a doctor about, the kids and told this doctor about abuse at all?
can you rephrase your question a little bit?
Okay, so this abuse by this Jeff to a psychiatric doctor,
Like, have I seen therapy? Or
or even the kids have seen th on I'm sorry, seek therapy.
I really wanted to get therapy. Don't get me wrong, and I'm as a matter of fact, I had a pretty deep conversation with one of my close friends. Not I wouldn't even say not too long ago. I'd say within the last probably 10 days. Of, as a matter of fact, I didn't even mention it, but my friend said, like, what's your thoughts on therapy? And I immediately embraced that question. Like, bro, I would have loved to get therapy. And as a matter of fact, I was this close to just signing up wherever I could
Mhm.
online because you can imagine that, especially given your own experience with
Mhm.
very familiar corruption like this, not only is it stressful, but it's like it pushes you real hard.
Hmm.
Like it's not easy to deal with in any form. But nonetheless, like I said, I embraced the question. Like I would love to get therapy. As a matter of fact, I almost got therapy. I haven't been close to enrolling in I don't know a year, maybe
Hmm.
less, maybe more. But in regards to the other half of your question, have my brothers gotten therapy? If I'm not mistaken, well, to the best of my knowledge, I can't recall,
Hmm.
especially specifically because I haven't seen them in 2 years.
Right.
So I really wouldn't be surprised if they've been uh, withheld from any sort of mental support. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been fed lies about their family instead of getting real support, real treatment to not only deal with the stress, but also to get some closure. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why can't we see our brother and our mom? But that's the best way I can answer that question.
Why doesn't the judge order, visitation? Like if you're a criminal, you get to see your kids in prison, but in family court, you, you don't get to see the kids at all. This is what's so crazy.
A lot of things do not go hand in hand. They should.
Right. Right. And these poor little kids are enduring so much abuse. and the opposing attorney doesn't care, and then you've got the judge and this hearing officer just standing around. It's just going on. It's like rampant in a lot of cases.
Hmm.
Now, now, was there any complaint ever filed on this judge?
Yeah, so there definitely has been, as a matter of fact, to be very specific here, I joined efforts with others, uh, essentially signing on to their petition to have Jeff, not Jeff, sorry. I wish it was about Jeff, but specifically about Judge Saibum to be removed. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, a lot of people will file complaints and they need to be done. And my friend actually has a website called childabusivejudges.com. And
yeah,
he's got 1,000 judges on there already.
yeah. Yes. Well, in regards to me having to, try to, create some sense of urgency here with these people in power that have capabilities of doing the right thing, helping others, serving society. Yeah, I definitely wanted to sign on to support getting side bum removed
Mhm.
because I mean it's very simple. Like if you're protecting sexual abusers, protecting pedophiles, like I think we're beyond questioning here. Like you definitely need to be removed from this position. Don't get me wrong. Like I wouldn't be the one to go ahead and have a bad experience at a restaurant and then go crazy on social media because I didn't like my water or I didn't like the way you
Right.
smiled at me. But like you, in my opinion, this is, I mean, I think in anybody's opinion, this is crimes against humanity. Like you can't protect people that are touching children in the middle of the night. Like you definitely need to be removed from a critical role in society that is designed and dedicated to benefit,
Mhm.
not specifically benefit, but to do right by others when they're in need here.
Well, I'll bring something up that my opposing attorney chipped in for a judge campaign, and he didn't chip in much, but they're all doing this. And I'm sure with this one, um, I'm sure they have friends chipping in for judge campaigns.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know how, but I'd imagine that Reichel has enough money to pay for my brother to have an attorney. And specifically, the attorney's name is Jane Roach. And I had to write it down here because I don't want to get a little off script
Mhm.
when I say this. So apparently, Jane Roach and Seaboom are friends, Cyboom are friends, and if I'm not mistaken, Jane Roach had contributed $25,000 to somebody's campaign, most known as Cyboom. So there's a connection there. And then along with, sorry, to throw in there, Jane Roach had a has a connection with Gary, Jeff's lawyer, because because Jane Roach happened to have worked with Gary at a law firm not too long ago, or in
Mm-hmm.
recent years. So these, I mean, it's a really interesting network that these guys have pieced together here.
Mm-hmm. They're all
It's
doing it.
it's well established, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, other than money, like what are these guys really gaining here?
More
What is
money.
it? Oh, so it's just stacking up money here.
Right.
So it's a real good money scheme.
It is. It's a $100 billion a year business here in these United States. In every state, it's like They could rack up 50 billion between Title IV B, which is CPS or whatever it is for that state. Then there's D, which is child support, which is supposed to be voluntary, but they force people. And then there's E, Title IV E, which is foster care, and they make a lot of money in there.
I don't understand how it's so easy to. I mean, don't get me wrong, you got to go through the years of school to get, to, I guess, pass the bar and,
Mhm.
get into this club. But from what it looks like, it's really easy to make a good living off of destroying others.
Mhm.
I could just imagine. I could just imagine how much Gary's made, how much Sebum has made. Uh, I mean, don't get me wrong, like $25,000 is a lot, but like that's just for a campaign. Like I wonder like how much she's really like making on like a yearly basis. I wonder how much these guys have made in the last 6 months.
Mhm.
Like 2025. I wonder how much they've made off of separating, dismantling, and destroying families.
Mhm.
And as a matter of fact, I'd be more curious to find out how much that Jeff has funded this project, this corruption, specifically him. I wouldn't want to know any other family just yet. I would want to find out first, like how much is Jeff putting in here,
Mhm.
whether if it's a little bit or a lot. Regardless, it's remarkable that it's working in his favor. How it's essentially easier to divide and conquer than it is to, provide safety, security, and and support. I don't.
Mm. And it's so wrong. And I have to say, thank God for social media. You know, this is how you're trying to connect with your little brothers, despite this court situation.
Yeah, I uh, I do believe that's the only thing I really can do right now. I don't. I'm not allowed to speak to my little cousin, not my little cousin. I'm not allowed to speak to my little brothers. So I've got to not only spread awareness, but simultaneously put together something that my brothers can hold me accountable to when they get out of that manipulative atmosphere. Like when if you were them being fed these lies and manipulation, essentially your mind, you're going to believe that
Mm.
me as your older brother doesn't want you in your life, doesn't want to help you, doesn't want to take care of you, abandon you. Okay. And then when you finally see me, then you're gonna ask me like, where have you been this whole time? And then that's when social media comes in handy here. Is
Hmm.
I've established legit credibility here because I've been posting for a while. I even have I mean I've said so many things about my brothers. I've said so many things, especially trying to, spread the light. I mean, sorry, shine some light, spread awareness in regards to the corruption here. Some of my brothers do have and ask me like, bro, we didn't believe in you. We thought, you gave up on us. And
Hmm.
say, oh, don't worry. I already knew that pedophile was going to try those moves on you to try to get you to lose hope on me and believe that I'm something I'm not.
Hmm. Hmm.
And then, show them the Instagram post, show them exactly what I'm saying in here, show them the dates. Like, dude, I've been at this for a while. Like, you've been going for 2 years, and I've been posting for as much as I could throughout these 2 years. Um, yeah, it's really the only way I can establish a clear and I don't even know how to say it, but it's kind of like my only shot to reach out to these guys.
Right. And I'm sure you've also had parents and other people reach out to you that are going through similar situations as well.
yes, and specifically, well, and with other people experiencing the same stuff, it's use that word again, remarkable. It's ridiculous how this is not only in Pennsylvania, this is in New York, this is in California, this is in Texas, this is east, west, north, south, this is central, this is I can't stop shaking my head because it's everywhere. It's
Mhm.
ridiculous.
And this is a system that should be protecting these kids. And everyone's got to speak up. And I'm so glad you're speaking up and speaking out about this travesty to these two little
Yeah,
boys and for everybody else's kids.
yeah.
So you're speaking out today just for, your little brothers, but for these other parents that maybe are afraid to speak out or they're in the middle of a case and they can't speak out. So you're a big voice here today.
So so I initially my first ever the first time that I was conscious my for Jeff sexually assaulting me in the middle of the night, um, I spoke up about it like right then and there,
Hmm.
and that fell flat, and I stayed quiet ever since. I was as crazy. Zane was a little baby. Evan wasn't born yet. It's crazy how long ago that was. Yeah, I remember perfectly clear how Jeff Rifle snuck into my room and started touching me in the middle of the night, which is ridiculous. But um, in regards to speaking up, I spoke up right then and there. It fell flat, but
Mm.
here I am, roughly 10 years later, and I really nothing to lose is not what this is. Um, and don't get me wrong, like I'm losing a lot right now already because my brothers have been removed from my life. It's been 2 years since my brothers have been removed.
Yeah.
My mom is suffering from this. My brothers are suffering from this.
Hmm.
So as a matter of fact, if I don't do anything, then I'm losing even more.
Hmm.
Along with if I don't try to spread awareness on this, then there won't be any momentum because if let's say let's say I'm building momentum right now by speaking up, then somebody who might be going to the same school as my brothers might experience the same thing in their household. Maybe they end up speaking up about this too. And
Hmm.
then that kind of just branches out. Stuff like this. And it's remarkable because it's kind of weird to figure out how is this going to create momentum. But once somebody does it, then somebody else is going to experience or at least witness it. And then it'll inspire them to do it in the exact same way or in their own way. And then it'll it'll just somehow, you know, snowball. It'll get bigger. It'll gain
It
traction.
will.
It'll gain momentum. It'll get bigger. And then there will be more awareness. It'll be not so rumor like.
Hmm.
It will be common for people to shine light on, very dark times and corrupt corrupt
Hmm.
people and systems. So to anybody who is going through something similar that hasn't already posted online or hasn't already um, even spoken up about their own trauma or their own struggles, like it's important that you do shine light on it because if you don't speak up,
Hmm.
then I mean the people that are doing wrong are gonna continue to sleep at night.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm. You've got to speak out. Now, you're,
any little thing will help. Yeah.
oh, definitely. And you're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, and I can post that in the podcast notes. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, in regards to my social medias, yeah, you. I'm sure you already are following my social media accounts, but for anybody who's listening who is interested in finding my social medias, my TikTok account would be EZK period monkey period brothers, and then my
Mhm.
Instagram account would be monkey brothers EZK, and then my Facebook account would just be monkey brothers.
I'm
Um,
so glad. Yeah. I'm just so glad you came to speak out and update us on the case. And
I really appreciate you having me on here today because
oh yeah,
creating awareness will not only help my own unique but tough situation, but it'll also inspire others.
it will. It will. Hey, and I'd like to have you back on if you've got any more updates in the future, but don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms. Feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. And I totally thank you, Kai Tristan Rivera, for speaking out and encouraging others to do so as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Marianne, for having me. It's my brother Zane and Evan. I love you guys. I miss you boys. I'm on a mission to do what I can to get y'all back home. To anybody else who's listening that is in a similar situation or that can take value from this, please act. Don't sit. Don't hesitate. Action is what will create momentum. Momentum is what will create opportunities.
Agreed.
And
Well, thank you so much.